You ever have one of those moments where you realize that your entire family has collectively decided that you are the problem? No warning, no trial. Just suddenly, overnight, you're the villain in a story you didn't even know was being written. That's exactly what happened to Michael. And the wildest part? He never raised his voice, never sent a single angry message, never made a scene. He just said no. This is Michael's story. Okay, so let me tell you about the most beautiful, most complicated, most cursed object I own. It's a ring. Not just any ring. We're talking platinum band, 1940s, with a cushion-cut diamond that catches light in a way that modern jewelry simply does not. My grandmother wore it for 61 years. 61 years. Through a world war, 3 kids, 1 husband, 2 moves across the country, and approximately 4,000 family dinners where someone inevitably said something they'd regret. That ring has seen things. Her name was Dorothy. And before you picture some sweet little old lady baking cookies in a floral apron, yes, she did bake cookies, incredible ones, don't get me wrong. But Dorothy was also the kind of woman who could silence a room with a single look. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue, and zero patience for nonsense. She called it efficient communication. The rest of us called it terrifying. I was her favorite. I'm not bragging. It's just a documented fact that everyone in the family accepted the way you accept the weather. My cousin Jenna used to joke that I was basically Dorothy's emotional support grandchild. 2 years ago, Dorothy got sick. The kind of sick where everyone starts making that face. You know the one. Like they're constantly on the verge of saying something important, but can't quite get there. One afternoon, she called me into her room. Just me. She took off the ring, which, by the way, I had never seen her do in my entire 26 years of life, and she placed it in my hand. Her grip was still surprisingly strong. "You know how to appreciate real things, Michael," she said. "Not everyone does." I didn't fully understand what she meant at the time. I do now. All right, so fast forward 2 years. I'm 28, living alone in a decent apartment, working in IT, and genuinely doing fine. Not Instagram fine, where everything is aesthetic lattes and sunset hikes. Actually fine. I cook my own food. I have a savings account. I own exactly 1 plant, and it's still alive. Life is good. The ring lives in a small wooden box on my dresser. I don't wear it. Obviously, it's an engagement ring, not a fashion statement. But I see it every morning. It's just there, like a quiet little reminder that someone thought I was worth trusting with something real. Then one Tuesday evening, my mom calls. Now, I love my mother. I want to be very clear about that. Linda is a warm, funny, genuinely caring woman who would do absolutely anything for her kids. Both of her kids. Which is, as it turns out, the entire problem. "Michael," she says in that voice. You know the voice. Every mom has it. The one that starts cheerful but has a whole agenda hiding underneath like an iceberg. Guess what? Ryan is going to propose to Ashley. Ryan is my little brother. He's 24, works at a sports bar, and has the energy of a golden retriever who just discovered caffeine. I genuinely like the guy. We're not super close. 4 years is a decent gap when you're growing up, but we get along fine. Ashley I've met maybe 5 times. Perfectly nice. Good laugh. Always on her phone. "That's great, Mom," I said. And I meant it. Isn't it wonderful? My baby is getting married. There was a pause. Not a natural pause. A loaded pause. The kind of pause that has been carefully constructed and rehearsed. "So," she continued, breezy as a hurricane, "we're gonna need Grandma Dorothy's ring." I actually pulled the phone away from my ear and looked at it for a second. Like maybe I'd misheard. Like maybe she'd said something completely different and my brain just scrambled it. "Sorry. The ring, Michael. Ryan doesn't have the money for something nice right now, and that ring is just sitting in a box in your apartment. It's not just sitting. And Grandma would have wanted it to stay in the family. Mom, she gave it to me. That is keeping it in the family. You're not even seeing anyone." And there it was. The closing argument. Said with the confidence of someone who had been saving it specifically for this moment. I took a breath. I'm a pretty calm guy. I've had to be, growing up with a mother who treats every conversation like a courtroom. So I didn't yell. I didn't get dramatic. I just said, slowly and clearly, "Mom, Grandma gave me that ring. Personally. On purpose. It's mine. And I'm not giving it away. Silence. Then, quietly, almost sadly, which was somehow worse than yelling. I really thought you were better than this, Michael. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen for a solid 30 seconds, just staring at the wall. Then I looked over at my one surviving plant. Don't, I told it. It had nothing to say. Honestly, in that moment, it was the best conversation I'd had all day. Here's something nobody tells you about uncomfortable family situations. They don't stay still. You can ignore them. You can put them in a little mental box, tape it shut, shove it to the back of your brain storage closet. But they have this annoying habit of growing in the dark. Like mold. Or a sourdough starter. Or, apparently, my mother's opinions about my personal property. About a week after that phone call, my life looked completely normal from the outside. I went to work. I ate lunch. I did not respond to my mom's 3 follow-up texts, which ranged in tone from just thinking about what you said to Ryan is really struggling financially to my personal favorite, a single photo of me and Ryan as kids at Christmas with absolutely no caption whatsoever. Psychological warfare. She learned from the best. Dorothy would have been proud, honestly. But I was fine. The ring was in its box. I was in my apartment. Everything was fine. And then came the barbecue. My cousin Jenna throws a cookout every year in late July. Nothing fancy, just her backyard, a playlist that somehow always includes at least 4 songs from 2009 and enough potato salad to feed a small country. It's one of those events where showing up feels optional, but not showing up gets you a phone call, so everyone shows up. I almost didn't go. I want you to hold on to that detail. I almost didn't go. If I had stayed home, I would still be living in my comfortable little bubble of denial, thinking this whole thing was just about a sentimental ring and a mother who loved her youngest son a little too loudly. But I went. And about an hour in, when the sun was doing that golden late afternoon thing and everyone was on their second or third drink and conversations had softened into that easy, lazy hum that only happens at summer cookouts, Jenna pulled me aside. She had this look on her face. I know Jenna's faces. I've known this woman my entire life. There's her, I just heard something hilarious face, her, I just heard something terrible face, and then there's this third one, rare, uncomfortable, that I can only describe as her, I know something that I probably shouldn't tell you, but also absolutely have to tell you, or it will physically kill me face. She was wearing that third one. Hey, she said too casually. Pointedly casually. Can we talk for a sec? We walked to the far end of the yard, near the fence, away from everyone. She kept glancing back at the crowd like she was checking for snipers. Okay, she said, turning to me. I need to tell you something, and I need you to not react. Like, outwardly. Can you do that? Jenna, I'm serious, Michael. Poker face. Right now. You're scaring me. Good, she said. You should be a little scared. She told me she'd overheard something. A few weeks back, at a different family thing, before my mom had even called me, before any of this had officially started. Ryan and Ashley had been standing near the kitchen, voices low, thinking they were alone. They were talking about the ring. Specifically, and I need you to really let this land, they were talking about selling it. Not keeping it. Not wearing it. Not even using it as a real engagement ring with any actual sentimental intention. Selling it. Jenna had caught pieces. She wasn't eavesdropping. She'd just walked in at the wrong moment, or the right one, depending on how you look at it. But what she heard was clear enough. They already had a number in mind. They already knew an appraiser. The plan, as far as she could tell, was to take the ring, liquidate it, and use the money to fund their honeymoon. 3 weeks in Japan. Which, look, Japan sounds incredible. Truly, I have zero complaints about Japan as a destination. But the ring they wanted to sell to get there? We're talking about a piece of history. A platinum, cushion-cut, 1940s heirloom that my grandmother wore for 6 decades and then personally placed in my hand with her last reserves of strength. And in exchange, Ashley would get a new ring. Something modern. A lab-grown diamond or moissanite, whatever she actually wanted, which, fine, that's a whole separate conversation. But the point is that the family ring was never meant to be her ring. It was meant to be the funding source. My mother, who had called me selfish, who had sent me the silent Christmas photo, who had said she thought I was better than this, either knew this plan and was helping execute it, or didn't know and was being used as a very effective emotional battering ram. I genuinely wasn't sure which one was worse. Jenna watched my face while she talked. I could tell she was monitoring me for signs of eruption. I didn't erupt. I went very, very quiet instead. "I thought you knew," she said, and her voice had that specific guilt in it, the guilt of someone who had sat on information too long and was now reckoning with that choice. "I thought maybe your mom had told you the full plan and you'd agreed or something. I didn't realize until this week that you had no idea." "I had no idea," I confirmed. "Michael, I'm fine. You have the face." "What face?" "The Dorothy face," she said. "The real quiet one. Right before she destroyed someone." I looked down at my drink. I thought about my grandmother. About that afternoon in her room. About the specific weight of her hand on mine and the specific words she'd chosen. You know how to appreciate real things, Michael. Not everyone does. I turned the cup slowly in my hands. "I'm not going to destroy anyone," I said. "Okay. I'm just not giving them the ring." Jenna nodded. Slowly. Carefully. "For what it's worth," she said, "I think Grandma Dorothy would agree with you." I didn't say anything to that. But somewhere in the back of my mind, in that little storage closet where I'd been keeping the box labeled uncomfortable family stuff, something clicked shut and locked. Let me tell you something about confrontations. Most people imagine them like movie scenes. Two people, face to face, dramatic music swelling in the background, everyone saying exactly the right things at exactly the right moment. Tears, maybe. A slammed door. A satisfying resolution one way or another. Real confrontations are nothing like that. Real confrontations happen on a Wednesday night when you're in your pajamas eating leftover pasta, and you've been staring at your phone for 40 minutes trying to decide whether to make a call that you already know is going to detonate something you can't undetonate. I made the call. Ryan picked up on the second ring. Cheerful. Unsuspecting. "Hey man, what's up?" Normal voice. Casual. The voice of someone who had absolutely no idea that the ground beneath them was about to shift. I kept my tone even. Friendly, almost. I'd thought about how to do this on the drive home from Jenna's, and I'd decided, no accusations, no drama, no raising my voice. Just facts. Clean and simple. "Hey, so I heard something interesting recently," I said, "about Grandma's ring and a trip to Japan." Silence. Not the loaded kind my mom used. This one was different. This was the silence of someone whose brain is suddenly running very fast while their mouth stays very still. "Where did you hear that?" And there it was. Not, "What are you talking about?" Not, "That's insane." Not even a half-hearted laugh to buy time. Just, "Where did you hear that?" Which told me everything I needed to know. "Doesn't really matter," I said. "Is it true?" Another pause. Then I heard him exhale, this long, slow breath. And when he came back, the cheerful voice was gone, replaced by something harder. Something I didn't hear from Ryan very often. "Look," he said, "it's not as simple as you're making it." "Ryan, is it true? We were just talking about options, okay? Ashley and I have been saving for this wedding, and everything is so expensive, and the ring was just sitting there." "It wasn't sitting anywhere. It's mine." "It should have been shared," he said, and his voice cracked slightly on that last word. Not with emotion, I realized, but with something closer to resentment that had been sitting somewhere for a long time. "Grandma had 2 grandkids, Michael. 2. And she gave everything to you. The ring, the attention, all of it. You were always her favorite and you got rewarded for it, and I just got nothing, and now you won't even. She gave me the ring because she trusted me with it." I said. "That's not a reward. That's a responsibility." "Oh, that is such," he stopped himself. Breathed. "That is such a you thing to say." "I'm not giving you the ring, Ryan." "Fine," he said. Flipped. Cold. A voice I barely recognized. "Fine. But don't think this is over." He hung up. I put my phone down on the counter. Looked at my pasta. It was cold. He was right about one thing. It wasn't over. It was, in fact, spectacularly not over. Within 24 hours, my mother called 4 times. I answered once. Mistake. And what followed was a 47-minute conversation that I can only describe as a masterclass in psychological pressure. Linda didn't yell. She never yells. Yelling is amateur hour. Instead, she did something far more effective. She reasoned, slowly, patiently, with this undertone of genuine heartbreak that made me feel like I was the most unreasonable person who had ever lived. Michael, I just don't understand why you're being so rigid about this. Rigid. Not selfish anymore. We graduated to rigid. Like I was some kind of emotional bureaucrat stamping denied on my brother's happiness. It's my property, Mom. It's a family heirloom. That was given to me. By the family. Specifically by Grandma Dorothy. Personally, she would have wanted Ryan to have it too. She had 60 years to give it to Ryan. She gave it to me. A pause. Then, softer. You know Ryan looks up to you, right? He always has. This is going to break something between you two that might not be fixable. And that one, I'll be honest, that one landed. Because I knew it wasn't entirely a manipulation tactic. There was real truth wrapped inside it, which is what made it so effective. My mother has always known exactly which buttons to press because she installed half of them. Mom, I said, I love you. And I love Ryan. But I'm not giving up the ring. She went quiet for a moment. Then, very carefully, like she was choosing each word with surgical precision. I really hope you understand what you're choosing here, Michael. Because you're not just saying no to a ring. You're saying no to your brother. On the most important day of his life. And I don't think you've thought about what that says about you as a person. I sat with that sentence for a long time after we hung up. What that says about you as a person. Then the family group chat woke up. Now, I want to paint you a picture of this chat. It's called, I am not making this up, Family Love, and it has 17 members ranging in age from 19 to 73. Under normal circumstances, it is used exclusively for birthday gifts, forwarded prayer requests, and the occasional photo of someone's dog. On Thursday morning, it became something else entirely. My mother had clearly made some calls the night before, because by 9 a.m., the messages were already waiting for me like a welcoming committee I had absolutely not invited. Aunt Karen opened with, I can't believe what I'm hearing. Dorothy would be rolling in her grave. Short, efficient, devastating. Aunt Karen has always had a gift for maximizing damage with minimum words. She once ended a Thanksgiving in 11 syllables. Truly gifted woman. Then Uncle Steve, who I genuinely like under normal circumstances. Michael, buddy, I've always thought highly of you. That's why I'm saying this with love. You're putting a thing above your family. Dorothy gave you that ring because she loved you. Not so you could hoard it. Hoard it. Like I was some kind of dragon sitting on a pile of treasure, laughing into the darkness. Then came the cousins. The ones I see twice a year. The ones who had, until approximately 48 hours ago, zero opinions about my personal property. They materialized out of nowhere like they've been waiting their entire lives for exactly this moment. Bro, that's cold. Honestly thought better of you. Ashley literally cried when she found out. That last one came with a crying emoji. 3 of them. I stared at my phone. Ashley, who had cried, was the same Ashley who had been discussing selling my grandmother's ring to fund a honeymoon before she'd even officially been offered it. I want to be very precise about this timeline. I did not type any of that. I didn't type anything. Because here's the thing, and this is the part one keep coming back to. I was the only person in that chat who knew the full story. I knew about the plan. I knew about the appraiser. I knew that this entire emotional campaign was built on a foundation that would collapse the moment anyone found out the truth. And I had a choice. I could blow it all up. Right there, in Family Love, in front of all 17 members. I could type out exactly what Ryan and Ashley had planned to do with that ring and watch the conversation pivot in real time. A part of me, I'll admit this, a part of me really wanted to. But I didn't. Because I thought about Dorothy. About the way she handled things. She never performed her strength. She never needed an audience. She just was who she was, and she let the world catch up eventually. So instead, I did something that I think actually disturbed people more than any argument could have. I left the group chat. No message. No explanation. No dramatic exit speech. Just gone. The individual messages started within minutes. My mom. Running away isn't going to solve this, Michael. Uncle Steve. Come on, man, don't be like that. A cousin I haven't seen in 2 years. Wow. Just. Wow. One word. Like a disappointed period at the end of a sentence I didn't write. And then Ryan. Last of all, long after everyone else had said their piece. His message was 3 lines. I've read it probably 30 times since then, and each time it hits differently. I know you think you're doing the right thing. I know you think Grandma would be proud of you. But she's gone, Michael. And we're still here. That used to mean something to you. I put my phone face down on the table. I sat in my apartment, in the quiet, and I didn't move for a long time. Outside, the city did its thing. Sirens, traffic, someone's music from the apartment above. Normal Tuesday sounds. The world completely indifferent to the fact that my family had just spent 12 hours trying to dismantle me from the inside out. I got up eventually, walked to my dresser, opened the small wooden box. The ring sat there exactly the way it always did, catching the light, quiet, patient, like it had all the time in the world. You know how to appreciate real things, Michael. I closed the box. Yeah, Grandma, I thought. I'm starting to think that was the whole point. Here's what nobody tells you about cutting off contact with your family. It's not dramatic. That's the thing that surprises you. You brace yourself for some kind of emotional earthquake, sleepless nights, constant second-guessing, that hollow guilty feeling that chews through your stomach at 2 a.m. And yeah, some of that happens. I won't pretend it doesn't. But mostly, it's just quiet. Uncomfortably, unfamiliarly, almost peacefully quiet. My phone stopped exploding. The notifications slowed to a trickle, then stopped almost entirely. The people who had texted me, "Wow," and "That's cold," from the comfort of their own lives moved on with remarkable speed to other things. Other drama, other group chats, other people to have opinions about. Turns out righteous indignation has a pretty short shelf life when it's not your ring on the line. My mom tried for about 2 weeks. Calls, texts, one voicemail that I still haven't fully listened to because I caught the words, "as your father would have wanted," about 15 seconds in and had to put the phone down for the safety of everyone involved. Then she stopped too. And I kept going to work, cooking my food, talking to my plant, living my completely functional, suspiciously calm life. Jenna checked in every week or so. Short messages, nothing heavy. "You good?" And I'd say, "Yeah, you?" And she'd say, "Yep." And somehow that was enough. Some people show up for you in grand gestures. Jenna shows up in consistent small ones. I've learned to appreciate the difference. For months passed like that. For months of quiet. Then one morning I woke up to a text from Jenna that said, "It happened yesterday. Just so you know." I stared at it for a second before I understood. The wedding. Ryan and Ashley got married on a Saturday in October at a venue about 40 minutes outside the city. I know this not because anyone told me. I was, very officially, not invited, but because Jenna had mentioned the date once, carefully, the way you mention something you're not sure whether to mention. I hadn't been invited, which I'd expected, which didn't make it not weird. I typed back, "How was it?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Nice venue," she finally wrote. "Open bar. Your mom cried during the vows." Ryan looked happy. I read that last part a few times. Ryan looked happy. And here's the honest truth, the one that's harder to say than the angry stuff, harder than the righteous stuff, harder than any of the dramatic moments that came before it. I was glad, not in a complicated way, not in a secretly bitter but pretending not to be way. I was just genuinely, simply glad that my little brother had a good day, that he stood up there in whatever suit he'd chosen and looked happy. We had gotten to this terrible place through a series of bad decisions and worse communication and a family dynamic that had never been particularly healthy. But he was still Ryan. Still the kid who used to steal my Halloween candy and then feel so guilty about it, he'd leave half of it outside my bedroom door at midnight. Still my brother. Good. I wrote back to Jenna. "I mean it." "I know you do," she said. "That's why you're my favorite cousin. I'm everyone's favorite cousin. You're my favorite cousin." I actually laughed. First real laugh in a while. I put the phone down and got on with my day. And that, I thought, was that. A strange and painful chapter, closed. Not cleanly. There's no clean in situations like this, but closed. I had the ring. Ryan had his marriage. The family had their opinions. Everyone had their corner of the story to inhabit. Life, I decided, would now proceed. Life had other ideas. 7 weeks later, on a Tuesday. It's always a Tuesday. I'm starting to think Tuesdays are structurally cursed. My phone lit up with a call from Jenna. Not a text. A call. Jenna texts. Jenna always texts. The last time Jenna called me out of nowhere was when her cat got stuck in her walls for 6 hours and she needed emotional support. So when I saw her name on my screen as an actual incoming phone call, I felt something cold move through my chest before I even picked up. "Hey," I said. Pin. A pause. "Are you sitting down?" "Jenna, I'm serious. Are you physically sitting?" I sat down. "Okay," she said. "So, you know Ryan and Ashley got back from Japan like 2 weeks ago, right?" I assumed. "Right." "So," another pause. The longest pause. The kind of pause that is actively rearranging your expectations of what comes next. "Ashley filed for divorce." I didn't say anything. "Michael, I heard you." 9 days, Jenna said quietly. They were back for 9 days. 9 days. They had been married for roughly 10 weeks total. They had spent 5 of those weeks in Japan, the honeymoon that the ring was supposed to fund, the trip that was supposed to be the grand romantic beginning of their shared life. And then they came home. And 9 days later, Ashley filed for divorce. I sat very still in my apartment. Outside, a car alarm went off somewhere down the street, that rhythmic mechanical wailing that nobody ever actually responds to. The refrigerator hummed. My plant, still alive, still thriving, apparently the most stable relationship in this entire story, sat on the windowsill in a patch of afternoon light. "Do you know why?" I asked. "I know pieces," Jenna said carefully. Apparently something happened in Japan. Ashley met someone, or reconnected with someone. I don't have the full picture, and honestly I'm not sure I want it. "How's Ryan?" The question came out before I'd fully decided to ask it. But there it was. Jenna was quiet for a moment. "Not good," she said. Simply, without embellishment. "Not good at all. I want to be honest with you about what I felt in that moment. Because the easy version, the satisfying version, would be to tell you I felt nothing, or that I felt vindicated. That some part of me leaned back and thought, well, there it is, the universe correcting itself, justice served, story complete. But that's not what happened. What happened was more complicated and less cinematic, and I think more true. I felt sad. Not for myself. Not in any way that connected back to the ring or the family chat or the missed wedding invitation. Just sad. For Ryan, who had looked happy on his wedding day and was now apparently sitting somewhere in the wreckage of something he'd thought was the beginning. For the version of this story where none of this had happened. For the distance between what families could be and what they sometimes end up being instead. I thought about calling him. I picked up my phone, found his name in my contacts, and sat there for probably 4 full minutes just looking at it. Then I put the phone down. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how to be the right person for that call yet. Because showing up in the wrong way at the wrong moment isn't showing up, it's just making someone else's pain about yourself. And Ryan had enough to deal with without me arriving in the middle of it, carrying all our unresolved history like luggage. Some bridges take time to rebuild. You can't rush the architecture. So that's the story. No grand resolution. No family meeting where everyone apologizes and learns something and hugs it out while a gentle acoustic song plays in the background. No moment where my mother calls and says she understands now. No dramatic reconciliation scene at Ryan's door. Just a ring in a box and a quiet apartment, and the slow private knowledge that sometimes doing the right thing doesn't come with applause. Sometimes it just comes with Tuesday. And maybe, eventually, with a phone call you're not ready to make yet, but will be. One day. Not today, but one day. So that's where we are. Michael has his answer. The family has their narrative. And somewhere out there, a wooden box sits on a dresser, quiet, patient, exactly where it belongs. But here's what I keep thinking about. At what point does keeping the peace become losing yourself? At what point does family first become a rule that only applies to you, while everyone else writes their own exceptions? Was Michael wrong? Or was saying no the most honest thing he'd done in years? I genuinely want to know what you think. Drop it in the comments, because this one is not as simple as it looks. And the people who think Michael was wrong, I especially want to hear from you. If this story got under your skin even a little, subscribe.